in 6 minutes starts now.
More evidence. North Korea is not disarming. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Less than 2 months after President Trump met with Kim Jong-un and said North Korea is no longer a nuclear threat. Fox's Rachel Sutherland live in Washington.
Dave, Fox News confirms U.S. intelligence officials believe North Korea is building new intercontinental ballistic missiles. Recent satellite images captured activity at a research facility outside Pyongyang. An official told Fox News about North Korea, it's business as usual, and there's no evidence North Korea has stopped working on missile development. The news comes a day before boxes of remains believed to contain some American service members from the Korean War are supposed to arrive in Hawaii. Dave.
Rachel, President Trump's considering meeting with the president of another nuclear adversary, Iran.
And I don't do that from strength or from weakness. I think it's an appropriate thing to do.
In May, he withdrew the U.S. from the international Iran nuclear deal and put on new sanctions, and the two presidents both issued threats recently. Jury selection starts today to put former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort on trial, the first case stemming from the special counsel investigation, but it's about his work in Ukraine years ago.
Manafort is accused of fraud, conspiracy, and money laundering, and his alleged Ukrainian ties will likely be the main focus of the trial. It will delve more into Manafort's dealings and not specifically into the president and any signs of collusion with Russia.
Fox's Gernal Scott. Tens of thousands of people still out of their homes in wildfire-scorched California.
It just seems like each year it gets a little worse and worse.
The fire in and around Redding is now 23% contained.
The car fire has already killed 6 people, 2 firefighters and 4 civilians, and destroying more than 800 homes. It's being fueled by hot, dry conditions and more wind overnight and into this morning. It is the 9th most destructive fire to hit the state of California, and by far the most dangerous of nearly 20 fires that are burning from Southern California to the Oregon border.
Fox's Lauren Blanchard in Redding. Fox News. Fair and balanced.
It's the Ford Summer Sales Event. And now, while selection is best, it's the best time to buy. With amazing offers across a full lineup of Ford vehicles, now is the time to make summer go right with Ford, America's best-selling brand. Stop by a local Ford store or shop online at buyfordnow.com, because there is no better time than right now to get behind the wheel of a new Ford during the Ford Summer Sales Event. Ford Summer Sales Event is here. Right now, get 0% APR financing for 72 months plus $1,000 Ford credit bonus cash on a great lineup of Ford SUVs. Best-selling claim based on 2017 calendar year sales. Not all buyers qualify for Ford credit financing. 72 months at $1,389 per month for $1,000 finance regardless of down payment. Not available on Expedition. For all offers, take new retail delivery from authorized Ford dealer stock by 7/31/18. See dealer or go to buyfordnow.com for qualifications and details.
When smoking is banned on all Jersey public beaches next summer, who is going to enforce the new law? Right now in Harvey Cedars, lifeguards enforce the local law where smoking is prohibited between the flags during guard hours from 10 to 5 p.m.
If they were to not or ignore the lifeguards, or if the situation escalated, law enforcement, police could be called in, and then they could hand out a local ordinance violation or a summons, which lifeguards cannot do.
Beach Patrol spokesman Brian Devlin says typically people abide by the lifeguards' commands. A popular Asbury Park restaurant is blaming a patron for trying to ruin their reputation after the patron posted video of a parasitic worm crawling out of a piece of fish they were just served. More than 100,000 have viewed the video that Jim Guinea posted. Stella Marina has made its own Facebook post calling Guinea's post callous and irresponsible. A squiggling worm on your plate, they say, could have happened to anyone, whether cooking at home or a restaurant. Where's Governor Murphy? His office confirms he's on vacation, but won't say where. Maybe Italy, where Murphy bought a 23-room, multi-million-dollar mansion in a small Italian village. I'm Eric Scott. This is the Town Square News Network.
I'm using the word unsettled for this week of weather, just like last week, where we could see a bit of rain at any given time. Today, though, actually looks mostly dry. There'll be a few showers around, especially the further south you are. Otherwise, a mix of clouds and sun, with high temperatures in the upper 70s to lower 80s, a bit below normal for this time of year. Looks like we'll see a widespread round of showers and thunderstorms lifting through the state tonight, with pockets of heavy rain possible, lows in the lower 70s. A continuing chance for thunderstorms tomorrow with breaks of sun. It'll be very warm and humid, highs mid-80s. I'm meteorologist Dan Zero.
From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame.
I want to congratulate my friend, Harry Hurley.
You're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPGG Talk Radio 104.1.
Hey, thanks very much. Welcome back. Chuck Malamut is here, all about your financial matters. We're in year 27, as of July 1st, year 27 of this broadcast with Chuck. The managing director, he leads his team, the Malamut Group at Morgan Stanley's Northfield, New Jersey office, 609-383-2010 for all of your financial planning needs. The following program is presented and sponsored by Chuck Malamut, a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. The information, views, and opinions expressed are those of Chuck, do not necessarily reflect those of Morgan Stanley or its affiliates. They are current as of the date of this broadcast, subject to change without notice. Neither the information provided nor any opinion expressed herein constitutes a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. This presentation is for informational purposes only. Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, member SIPC. Chuck, it's a wonderful day in the neighborhood.
Good morning, Harry.
Good morning, Chuck.
Good morning, Kirk. Speaking of the neighborhood, Harry, I think, as we got started last week, I think you weren't terribly pleased with some of the things I said, or maybe it was the inflection or the way I said things.
The hypercritical nature.
So I'm
that actually inspired a gentlelady caller to call in. And
that was like months ago,
no,
even a year. That was a long time ago.
But it's that behavior that created it.
The behavior.
Yes.
Right. So, but anyway, I think I would be remiss if I did not mention to Kirk and your wide range of listeners how proficient you are in many, many tasks, that goes beyond the scope of what you do here.
Even the mundane.
On WPG.
Yeah.
So,
Who would think?
Kirk, I had an opportunity to visit with Harry on Sunday and witnessed, Harry step into a classic vehicle that is a little, almost as old as Harry.
It was magnificent. It was actually the car. Chuck didn't know. So it was actually the car I wanted when I was a child.
And it's a 4-speed manual transmission, and he stepped into that vehicle and he drove it like he owned it.
Chuck didn't think I could do it. Now he has a lot of confidence in me. I'm his protege. My Chevelle was manual transmission.
So anyway, I think it was. I think everyone.
My Chevelle was automatic transmission. I meant to say, but Chuck, what was cool about it? It's living proof. They say you never forget how to ride a bike. I have not driven a manual transmission. I did for a short period of time. I bought a car because I just loved it, and it was a 4-speed, and it was 4 on the floor like this particular car, and I got back into that like I had never stopped. Chuck said, you want to drive? I said, I want to drive that car. And then
it's a 1964 Corvair. So,
Kirk, when I tell you, magnificent, truly magnificent. But Chuck was in disbelief when I said I want to drive that car, and I confidently just started walking right to the driver's seat. I knew I was going to get right in.
Did you drive in Kirkland?
I did not drive in Kirkland, but we got right in and right in gear, worked first into second into third. We were in the neighborhood, so we didn't ever get outside of third gear. I didn't get into fourth gear because it wasn't necessary. But it's living proof. You don't forget. I haven't had, except for that short period of time, it was only a few months, when I had a Nissan that was stick. It was a little sports car. My last stick was in the late 70s driving a Volkswagen Squareback, which was also 4 on the floor, and 1981 for about 4 or 5 years. And then we bought a second one in the 80s that was 5-speed, and the other was a 4-speed. Chuck, you literally don't forget how to do that.
No, you don't, Harry. And now we're the slate is clean, right? We're good.
Okay. We were good before. We're never not good. But the neat thing about that is it's not just that you can put it in gear. It's working the clutch with the right amount of gas so that it actually feels like a automatic car would, shifting automatically, so you're not bucking and bronco back and forth and all that. I think Chuck will admit it was a fairly smooth ride, considering I had never driven the car before.
Harry, yeah, you did an exceptional job. There was no bucking bronco, so to speak, which is what you always expect when somebody steps into the vehicle for the first time. But all good. So,
and Chuck, by the way, what a beautiful, beautiful vehicle. Oh my gosh, so nice. All right, Chuck, what's the market update?
So, Harry, as we finish up the month of July, even though the market seems a little off kilter over the last couple days, July will turn out to be a very, very good month. Last week we were focused again on trade and the tensions.
Chuck, if I could back you up, is this off kilter much more than just two very large social media companies that I believe by their own decisions have hurt their brand outside of what the economy, I believe, would have brought them? I think they brought it to themselves.
I think it might be a little bit more than that. I think that what happens is...
But that's not small, what I just said. Two companies down 20%.
No, it's not. But what happens is you're looking, as you look across the various sectors of the market, technology, is, or through this year, was the leading sector, up almost 15% as of last Friday. Consumer discretionary is not too terribly far behind at 14%, but we might be seeing a little bit of a shift here. It's been a long time since value stocks with dividends, come into play, and in a balanced portfolio, you just can't own tech. You need to own other sectors of the market. So I think we're seeing a little bit of a shift. I think the real answer, Harry, today could be your favorite company. Reports after the close, and
yes.
They're not considered. The FANG stocks. Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, which is now Alphabet. I mean, those were the stocks that had some significant run-ups as we got into this year, 2018, and I think now you're starting to see a little bit of a pullback. I mean, obviously, as you mentioned, Facebook came on Thursday, wiped out 20% of the market capitalization before the market ever started.
Twitter the next day.
Twitter came Friday, so now Facebook, so Thursday, Friday, Monday.
And that's 19-point-some% each, and then Netflix got a hit. Chuck, what I'm saying, and I know this is in my lane and not yours, but if it doesn't intersect, then I don't think we're being honest. I think the politics of those three, because I listen to you, Chuck, and I listen to a lot of your company's market research. 85% of the S&P 500 members are beating analysts' estimates, top line, bottom line, but yet three big leaders are not enjoying that. It has to be beyond the economics, and it has now entered into their ghosting people. Dear friend of mine stepped up and actually wrote me to say, if you're not already a friend of mine on this one social media outlet, you won't be able to see me. I forget the term. I call it ghosting, but they call it shadowing or something. That's causing people to leave.
It's interesting you make that statement, because it literally on my way this morning, I was talking with my son, who is doing his
handsome and very smart
grad student work in business and finance, and same concept he reiterated to me with respect to and again, I'm not picking on a company, but Twitter, and so it's not as if it's unknown.
Oh no, people are
and
right
now. I'm not going to throw Netflix into that category, because I think that's just that's more media content. Now, if they're trying to control the content,
I'm going to tell you.
Then
why,
that could be a different story.
I'm going to tell you why I bring them in. They hired the Obamas for a multi-million-dollar deal of making movies and things like that, and a lot of their users are extremely unhappy with the political path that they're taking. All three of these are mentioned in a major financial institution's research and development information. All three of them are mentioned: Netflix, Facebook, and Twitter. And they're all the three big ones, which is why anybody is saying anything other than euphoric things right now. And they're hurting themselves, I submit.
I think, look, they missed. The numbers are not there. The market, I mean, there was a lot. Again, you have to, when you recognize that a lot of these stocks are momentum-driven stocks, and money flows in very quickly and money flows out very quickly. Now, from a long-term perspective, if you truly believe in a particular company or a concept, or a subsector of a sector, when you see situations like this, you oftentimes sort of take a step back and say, okay, does it make sense to maybe reposition my portfolio a little bit? It maybe was sort of one of these stocks might have been on your buy list. You take 20-25% of your market cap out immediately. I mean, I think it draws attention, and you say to yourself, okay, is this an aberration? Is it a miss for the quarter, or is this really the start of something that could be, deteriorating, a particular company?
Well, I'll tell you what's a shame, though. Let's go to the break, and this is something I normally wouldn't say on your show. I would say it when you're not here, but I really think it's a fair comment. It's a shame that in a really favorable financial environment that these particular companies are making decisions that are causing people to leave. But it's not like they would have left. If you change the algorithm and people can't see you anymore, what are you going to stay around for? People are upset about that.
No, they are. You're absolutely correct.
And that's why they got crushed. They got crushed. It's so interesting. Mark Zuckerberg got away with his testimony before Congress, all these things that were being alleged. I think you got to back me up on this, Chuck. Their stock didn't take even a dent. But then it did prior to his testimony, and then it came back. But now they got crushed on that ill-fated day. He lost $16 billion basically in less than one day because they're messing.
Maybe you should
with people's algorithms.
Connect with him and help him out.
I'd love to coach him. He's Chuck Malamut. I'm Hurley in the Morning. We'll be back in just a few minutes. I would love to coach him. He wouldn't have lost $16 billion last week if he listened to me. Just treat people fair. It's capitalism, Kirk. Treat people fair. Don't mess with people. Don't mind their views. Let people have open discussions. Don't take down the national anthem and call it a terms of service violation. This all happened in the run-up to them losing $16 billion. Chuck Malamut continues all about your financial matters in just a few minutes.
Small business owners, what makes your business the best around? Whether you have incredible custom cakes or unparalleled customer service, there's something you do better than anyone else. And with Vistaprint, it's easier than ever to promote what makes your business great. That's because we make it simple to create professional business cards that are uniquely and unforgettably you. In fact, at Vistaprint.com, you can get 500 standard cards for as low as $9.99 with promo code 1616 at Vistaprint.com. Yep, just $9.99. At Vistaprint, you're the boss. So you can check out hundreds of customizable templates or upload your own one-of-a-kind design. Then take your card to the next level with super custom upgrades like rounded corners, pearl paper, or even shiny gold foil. We've got everything you need to set your business and your business card apart. So create a business card that works as hard as you and make it as unique as your business. Just go to Vistaprint.com to get your 500 business cards starting at $9.99. Use promo code 1616 at checkout. That's Vistaprint.com, promo code 1616.
Hey, wake up with Harry Hurley and drive home with me, Sean Hannity, 3 to 6. It's all happening here on WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
18 minutes past the hour. You are listening to Chuck Malamut, the official, the exclusive financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program, all about your financial matters and to plan your financial goals, your retirement, your college building years, vacation planning, all the elements that center and round into the full financial planning of today, tomorrow, and your retirement. Turn to Chuck Malamut, 609-383-2010. As we're saying all this, Chuck, second quarter GDP.
Yeah,
you're not done.
No, before we get there, let me. I think I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that as we looked at the end of last week, the indices were mixed, but the S&P 500 posted its fourth weekly gain It was up a little bit over 0.5%. The three sectors that outpaced: energy, industrials, and financials were the best performing. Those that were on the other side of the curve, technology and consumer discretionary. And if you remember, those were the two leading sectors that we just talked about a few minutes ago. So we might be seeing maybe a little bit of shift here. And that's why it calls out for to have a balanced portfolio. There's no doubt about it.
Strong comment, Chuck. Second quarter, as you know, is very. I feel very validated by it because for the longest time, as you know, I stomped all over whether it was the 11 genius economists that 3 weeks before the election said that we cannot grow 3%, we cannot grow 4% ever again. They called it impossible. They actually said these are guys with PhDs and all kinds of incredible shingles. They said pigs don't fly. We just don't have the manufacturing jobs anymore. We can't grow at 3 or 4%. They said we could never hit 4%. That was 3 weeks before the general election of 2016. Well, as you see on the sign behind you, Chuck,
I see that,
pigs do fly.
So in any case, Harry, we're at 4.1 annualized rate compared to the revised number for Q1 at 2.2%.
Up 0.2%.
No. The Q1
was 2, and then it was revised to 2.2.
Right,
yeah,
and so now we are at 4.1 for the second quarter. That's
I have a sneaky suspicion that will be revised up.
Well,
too.
That's the fastest pace that we've had here in 4 years, and it's attributable to a couple of things. Consumer spending has improved, business investment. A lot of this is centered around tax reform, increased government spending. We can kind of
and deregulation.
Put that to the side. Now, the one thing that
do you agree deregulation was a huge part of this?
Absolutely. I think the one thing that we have to take a look at is housing. Mm-hmm. What happened during the quarter is that residential fixed investment fell by 1.1%.
Correct. But is this good news, Chuck, that pending home sales have increased for the first time in 3 months?
Well, yeah, I mean,
right now?
so going into today or
and by the
way,
it was called unexpectedly rose, so this was a surprise.
We've had 3 months of declines in existing home sales. It's been the slowest pace we've seen in 8 months, and maybe the housing market is starting to cool off a little bit. You think about, what drives the housing market. Mortgage rates. They've been somewhat steady, but they have continued to increase somewhat. Some low inventory levels in a lot of parts of the country, and again, changes with respect to tax incentives. So that could be hampering sales a little bit. Residential investment was somewhat of a drag on Q2 with respect to GDP growth. But I think, Harry, a lot of it has to do with you think about what's happened with the prices. I mean, prices just can't escalate forever.
But Chuck, I agree. But if 8.5 out of every 10 companies are meeting both bottom and top line expectations, Q2 earnings continue to impress.
Well, absolutely. I mean, so within that GDP number, there were, the flaw was housing. But if you look at Q2 earnings right now, they're roughly 25% or higher year over year, which would exceed the results that we saw a year ago at this point in time. So the problem that we face is that, as you know, when in the equity markets, everything is priced to perfection. If a stock does not meet expectations, or their forward-looking statements, their projections are not in line with what the street was looking for, then that stock is going to get punished. I mean, we see it all the time. And I think I don't want to focus on one particular stock, but it's your favorite stock, and it's what for most people. Kirk, I don't know if you have the device. Harry, you and I have the device.
Kirk does not have an iPhone.
But in any case, I think there'll be a lot will be said a little bit after the close
Kind
today.
of interesting that 2 out of 3 do, though. It's
That's
interesting.
it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There you go. Straight line. That's pretty steady, Kirk. Kirk's showing me a trend line that was very, very, very steady, almost like a straight line. Did not look like an EKG chart. Chuck, I want to, before the bottom of the hour break, we have time to delve into this. I want to anoint you as Pocket Kreskin 2.0. And that's a high compliment coming from Kreskin, the amazing Kreskin's actual Pocket Kreskin, named by Kirk Conover, approved by the amazing Kreskin himself. Because if we have 85% of S&P 500 members beating analyst expectations, the Fed is meeting this week, and we have 4.1% GDP, 85% meeting expectations. Everything's going very, very well. I think this basically necessitates that the Fed will want to raise interest rates 25 basis
this
points
quarter?
again. Or no.
The meeting this week.
Yes.
If
I can tell by looking at your eyes, that's not going to happen.
I think if it happens, I think it's going to really take the market by surprise because we're not expecting any real news to come out at this week's Fed meeting. But monetary policy, as we know it, is starting to get a little less certain. The economic and the political backdrop today is muddier than it's been in years. Central bankers have expressed concern about rising trade tensions that and think about it, is it's sort of taken a back seat over the last week, but in a moment's notice with a tweet, that could change very, very quickly.
So the expectation is no increase at this meeting, and I really shouldn't have said that the way I did, because obviously what they're going to want to do is help their favorite political party, like they always do, right before a big election, like they did to George H.W. Bush, like they will do. So the next increase is expected, though, before the midterm election. Please say yes.
Harry, the project.
Just say yes.
Harry, the projections are that at the next meeting there will be an increase.
All right, so the general election is November 6th. When is the next meeting?
The next meeting is prior to November 6th.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll just
yes.
So let me get back before we get to the break.
I should have left that right where it was.
Yeah, because I think I'm going to get myself in a fair amount of trouble because this show's gotten very political today.
I said it.
So the flattening of the yield curve, trading, trade tensions, political pressures, here domestically, internationally. So that could ultimately impact future monetary policy, which ultimately, Harry, could have some results with respect to where we go with short-term rates.
What about all this trade stuff? It is the one thing I wish I think long-term the president is doing a smart thing. And I think with the subsidies to the farmers, it's defendable. And if he negotiates better trade deals, because these trade deals have been historically terrible for America. They've just really, I don't understand why previous presidents approve these different trade deals, but this has been disruptive and it causes tension. And what's the latest? What are dispassionate, sober financial markets saying about this?
So if you take a look, as we mentioned a few minutes ago, there was not a lot of negative issues with respect to trade tensions. They did ease a little bit last week, and you think about the meeting that took place between U.S. and European officials, resulted in avoiding automobile tariffs, which is certainly good news. NAFTA negotiations have restarted, and a new deal could be reached before Labor Day. President Trump appears to be trying to ease tensions with many trading partners to gain support, for a harder line against China. So I think about what he's potentially doing here. He's lining up all these other countries. Not that I'm suggesting they're going to gang up on China, but chances are, if he has the EU on his side, it's going to be helpful. when he goes up against China.
And it appears that he has worked out something with the EU. Let's take our halftime break. It's approaching 30 minutes past the hour. You're listening to Chuck Malamut, the official, the exclusive financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program. Much more right after the break. I'll give you a little bit of a rundown, ambitious last segment with Chuck coming up in just a few minutes. For all of your financial planning needs, turn to the managing director of his group, the Malamut Group at Morgan Stanley's Northfield, New Jersey office, Chuck Malamut, 609-383-2010 for all of your financial planning needs. Chuck is going to talk about the status of additional tax reform. He did bring up housing. If there's anything more on the state of our housing in the United States, time will be Chuck's. Stock market and the month of August, market timing versus spending time in the market is always a point of emphasis that I enjoy hearing Chuck opine about. And this one is going to be, I think, very interesting. We'll conclude with good banks, bad banks. Early in the morning with Chuck Malamut at 30 minutes past the hour.
Only one talk station in South Jersey has an app that's focused exclusively on what's happening in Atlantic and Cape May counties. WPG Talk Radio 104.1. Don't fish through some generic app along with thousands of other stations. The WPG Talk Radio app brings you the latest South Jersey news and weather information, breaking news push notifications just for our area, and more. Download the new WPG Talk Radio app today through WPGTalkRadio.com.
We treat people well. Shore Physicians Group.
Are you planning to undergo reconstructive surgery for skin or breast cancer? Or are you interested in hearing the latest in body contouring, facial aesthetics, and laser treatments? If so, then join Shore Physicians Group and surgeon Dr. Mohit Sood for a free plastic surgery symposium Tuesday, July 31st from 10 till noon at Great Bay Country Club in Summers Point. To RSVP, call 609-653-3435. Visit shorephysiciansgroup.com.
Does your doctor or physician's office treat you like just another patient? And it's time you found a doctor that's really committed to treating you well. It's time you made an appointment at Shore Physicians Group. At Shore Physicians Group, they don't treat just patients. They care for people. Shore Physicians Group offers same-day primary care appointments at its offices in Egg Harbor Township, Margate, Marmora, Northfield, Mays Landing, Ocean City, and Summers Point. Most insurance plans are accepted. Call 609-365-6262 or visit shorephysiciansgroup.com.
Hi, it's Mark Levin. Join me at 6 this evening. Now back to the Mayor of the Morning, Harry Hurley, on WPG Talk Radio 104.1, South Jersey's talk station.
We're back. Thank you, great one. Another great one. Malamut is here. Chuck Malamut, the official, the exclusive financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program. Our studio observer, Kirk Conover, has just left the Hurley in the Morning palatial studios. He walked past the Pigs Do Fly artwork on the wall. He's laughing as he goes out. 609-383-2010. That's the number to reach Chuck for all of your financial planning needs. Chuck Malamut, what is the status of additional tax reform?
So, Harry, you've seen a fair amount of rhetoric around additional tax reform. We don't think there's virtually any chance of getting additional tax reform passing before this year.
True.
It could pass the House, but it seems unlikely the Senate would even be looking at the measure at this point in time. The debate is, we think, mostly political posturing in advance of the midterms, but it could provide some clues with respect to the direction of fiscal policy should Republicans keep control of Congress. So again, the run-up to the midterms, I think, you're obviously the political junkie. I'm certainly nowhere near that, but this midterm election seems to be a lot more publicized than what we've seen in the past, and a lot more important than what we've typically seen.
And for good reason. This fits within your show because it'll be nonpartisan, and at the highest criticism could be that it's a bipartisan statement, which I don't think violates the tenets of your program here with us, and it is as follows. Republicans want to keep control. The other party wants to get control. And so that's the playing field. That's what's going on. I could not agree more with your assessment and your company's market research assessment there, because obviously there's a Supreme Court justice that they want to seat by October 1st. There's the specter of a government shutdown. I hate to even say that. I believe it will be avoided because of the political implications. So there's absolutely no time to pass. First of all, the House is off for a month They're not even there.
Would
you love that? Chuck, see you next month. I'll see you in September.
There's a number of career paths or jobs I would have liked to have had. One of which, although it's a grind, I'm not so certain I'd want to be in the house.
But they literally take a month off so they can campaign so that they can get 2 more years or 6 more years. It really is amazing what they get. Now, I would also make the case that you don't have to be in Washington to be working. A congressman could be at the district meeting with constituents and working and going to community activities. We get away with trashing them. They're on vacation for the whole month. No, they're just not in session.
The technology that's available today compared to where we were just 5 years ago, you don't need to go to Washington.
No, you should actually be able to never go and stay in your district, and you should be able to vote virtually. Yeah. I really think it's bad. Because I think it would be much better. There would not be the showboating. They'd all just vote. The person would be there calling the roll. Chuck Malamut, Charles I. Malamut, the distinguished gentleman from New Jersey. How do you vote? I. Harry Hurley. I mean, so we would be wherever we would be. So I'm probably one of the only broadcasters in America that will actually not drink the Kool-Aid and the company line. Because think about it. If you're in the district, like if you're Frank Lobiondo, well, first of all, he's on a intelligence mission right now. But secondly, if he's in the district, what does it matter that he's not that Beltway media that we have that thinks everything is like the Acela corridor, or else it doesn't matter? If you're in your district or in your home state, you could still be working. But they don't report it that way, though.
One of the things that we weren't going to talk about, but you raise a very interesting point. If you look at it today, it was almost 25% of people, of Americans that work in this country, did some or all of their work from home in 2017. So
there's a lot of companies right now. They're doing things like you rotate. 1 day a week you can work out of home.
Yes.
You can be very productive. It doesn't matter where you get your work done as long as you're getting your work done. I think that's I think we're going to see more and more remote type working, and who knows, down the road, Chuck, it once again, just like bricks and mortar stores, do you see, is it unreasonable to forecast that someday freestanding offices won't be as necessary? Because you can do your work anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I think that's going to happen.
I agree with you, Harry.
Now, you talked about U.S. housing. Is there anything else about the state of U.S. housing? The only thing I would like to say as a point of emphasis is your research was accurate in terms of how it impacted the second quarter, but pending home sales are up for the first time in 3 months.
They are. That could be maybe the trend is it could be reversing here, and that would be exceptional for housing.
It would be great. It would absolutely be great. Anything else about housing?
No, I think we covered that.
Stock market and the month of August,
which
starts tomorrow.
We talked about July, having a pretty spectacular month. Unfortunately, the worst performing month, historically speaking, for the S&P since 1993 has been August. The stock market, on average, suffers a loss of about 0.6%. That's over the last 25 years. Now, conversely, on the other side, the best performing month over that same time period has been April, with a gain of roughly 1.8%. So you think about August, and we always talk about this. As you get to the last 2 weeks in particular, it gets very, very quiet. I mean, there's a lot of vacations. A lot of the institutional folks are gone. So you don't see a lot of volume, and then ultimately, because you don't have that volume, it could create volatility, and that's been pretty typical for the month of August.
Chuck, sidebar, it's not on your list, but I think it's something that would be interesting to your financial listeners. Have you ever in your career, which now is measured by more than 3 decades, and you had a great career in business and industry for more than a decade prior to that, so 30 plus years in the financial services industry, have you ever seen an era where more personal conduct of the highest ranking people has resulted in major companies? I mean, think about the size of Weinstein movie group. I'm just going to say it because it's not political, it's news. The CBS chairman, CEO's allegations, and the board has said for now he stays, and I don't think he's going to last, but we'll see how that goes. CBS got hit 5.4%. Have you ever witnessed more personal conduct at the highest levels, Wynn Resorts, our former boss, come out the way this has?
It's
unprecedented.
It is unprecedented, and it kind of reminds me, Harry, shoot now, ask questions later. And it's just like we oftentimes talk.
I call it ready, fire, aim.
Yeah. Oftentimes we talk about, if a stock misses for some particular reason, they immediately sell into that. And then they find out later what exactly happened. And I think, I don't want to say this is the same to a certain extent, but it's really kind of awful. And the society that we live in today, it's really hard. I mean, it's, because you assume things or presume things and it doesn't quite work out the way you assume things.
Think about this in your world, though. Aren't you the one that's been teaching me for over 30 years that do you buy on the rumor and sell on the – how does it – is that –
buy on the rumor, sell on the news.
Okay. Now people are selling on the rumor.
Yeah, it's counter. It's sort of counter to the old adage, but I mean,
I'm not a fan that an allegation causes such disruption. If you prove the allegation, then there's going to be disruption. And obviously, in this one example, the board of directors has admitted, and it's really unusual. They have no succession plan at all. It's like they have all their eggs in one basket. Very, as you know, very unusual for something that big, and especially when you have the Redstone people on the other side, Viacom. So to me, it's very unusual that they've actually admitted there's no plan after Les Moonves. I don't even understand that. I think that is reckless to your shareholders. He's 68 years old. That's young, but 68-year-olds die.
Well, was there a succession plan in place for Wynn Resorts?
No, so we're not hypocrites.
So
I say guilty as charged.
So ultimately, this is something that's going to continue for a while. And I think if a board of directors of any company, specifically a publicly traded company, needs to make certain that they don't know what they don't know, but what they need to know is to have in place, Harry, there's a tragic airplane accident which takes out, you're the CEO of a company. Mm-hmm. So you have to have your plans in place.
I agree. Where did it become, though, okay that an allegation can crush you? What if the allegation isn't true? I always thought we were innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah, you
let something play out, and then guess what? If it's sustained, the allegations are sustained, the person's going to be gone.
This is different now.
It is.
We are living in a much different society compared to where we were, say, 5-10 years ago.
It's scary, though. You could do mischief to anybody, to any company, to any CEO, to any person you choose to target for ruination. You just make an allegation. And because now allegation sort of means guilt, you don't have a chance to say, hey, this is baloney. If you think about it, very few people are escaping this noose once charged.
Yeah, but I think what CBS is doing is just a little bit different because up until now, a lot of these companies are immediately putting the chairman or the CEO right on the bench.
Well, I'm going to say I think it's really wrong what they're doing in view of what they did to Charlie Rose immediately.
Well, I'm saying, yeah, right? I mean, it's like,
yeah.
At least now they're saying, okay, you continue in your role and we're going to investigate.
Because you're too big to fail. You're too important that we can't do what we would do. I guarantee you if it was somebody else other than him, they'd be at least taking a voluntary leave, if not suspended pending investigation.
So the question is that the way? Well, obviously that's the way it is now, and should it be that way?
I don't think it should be that way, but that is the way it's been.
And so you hear
So
the
it
allegations. You can continue in your role. However, we're going to open up an investigation. And
But you know what's going to happen, though, and it happened to Al Franken, and it happens to seemingly all of them. If you have somebody, and I'm not convicting Les Moonves, because I do believe in the presumption of innocence and let it play out. But several people have stepped up. One of them has significant specifics, Elena Douglas and some other people. People listening might remember Elena Douglas from the movie Goodfellas with Ray Liotta and Robert De Niro and all them guys. And now you supposedly have more people that have come out, and if more and more and more keep coming out, then they're going to have to do something because their company is going to get hammered.
Absolutely. I mean, it was evidenced in what happened to CBS the other day as it traded.
Yep.
All right.
All right, so let's go back now because this really is one of the doctrines of Chuck Malamut, market timing versus spending time in the market.
You know, Harry, oftentimes I'm going to be a little repetitive because I think we've chatted about this on more than one occasion.
But I don't think you can say it too much.
And I think it bodes well for the investor versus the stock picker and the market timer. So think about this for a second. Over the last 10 years, the S&P on average was up about 10.2% per year. Wow. On a total return basis, which includes your dividends. Now,
I'm paying attention, but I want to make sure I heard you. You said for 10 years.
For 10 years, the average year,
double digits for 10 years.
Exactly. So now,
who's not going to take that?
If I'm going to throw this out there because you're a pretty astute guy and
thank you,
and have a lot of knowledge in a lot of areas and
can handle four on the floor.
How many trading? Let me ask you a question. If we took out so many days of the best performing days over those 10 years and cut your return by more than 4 percentage points to 5.8% per year, how many days do you think?
All right. I think I can do well here, but I would not do well on this without being a student in the Malamut School of Finance because you never gave me the answer for 10 years. But you have given me the answer for close to that over the course of all the years we've been doing this program. It's a shockingly small number. I'm going to say it's in single digits, and I'm going to pick the number out of the sky, 6 days over 10 years.
Well, you are almost the pocket cricket Kreskin there because – believe it or not, it's 5.
Wow!
So you missed it, but that's
incredible.
I think, Harry,
it's only because of you teaching.
I think thank you. I think if you polled, the average investor, they would
say 100 days, 200 days.
So think about it. You take out 5 days out of 10 years.
So if we don't take leap years into consideration, 365, and several of them have had 366, but
2,500 trading days. We'll call it
2,500 days. And if this isn't proof, this isn't Chuck Malamut upselling or anything silly. If anything you listen to when you listen to Chuck's program, that if you were in the market for the last 10 years and you were trying to be your own day trader and time the market and you're your own Svengali, you've proven, Chuck, that over the last 10 years the smartest thing to do was to be in the market for all 2,500 days for 10 years because you would have been there for the 5 that meant so much.
The 5 best days. Now and
you couldn't pick them out on your own.
Harry, you can't. You're not going to be able to pick those out at 8:30 in the morning for the day of.
Yeah.
And if you are, then you are truly somebody special.
I know you speak before groups and you do different things. I think that's one of the most interesting points that somebody in your vocation can ever make, showing someone over 10 years how much was wrapped into just 5 days. And were you a player during those 5 days?
We oftentimes,
or were you on the sideline?
We refer to it. It's a pretty neat looking chart, which has
how much of your 10% yield would have been affected if you weren't there for the 5 days?
You would have cut your return to 5.8%.
So not in half, but nearly.
Almost,
Yeah.
very, very
Yeah,
close. I mean, you would.
42%.
So, we oftentimes show clients, prospective clients, comparing.
Chuck, even though you've been doing this 30-some years, 35 years, whatever it's been, don't you find it extraordinary that 42% of your return of a decade, was totally predicated upon 5 days?
Well, yeah, but Harry, you think about some
that
of the.
blows my mind.
We've had spectacular days.
I know, but still.
But we oftentimes, when we meet with clients, prospective clients, get in front of groups of people, we have a chart that shows that 10.2% to the left, and then you missed 5 days, missed 10 days, missed 15, missed 20. Now, again, the answer, is going to be fairly close. And again, it just reiterates the fact how important it is to try to stay focused and try not to let all the noise get in the way.
So for those who think that words don't mean things, spending time in the market versus trying to time the market, if you could, anybody listening, if you could come up with a better example than the past decade and saying that 5 days in that decade mattered 42% of your return on investment, it's mind-blowing to me.
It's incredible.
It's a great. I'm telling you, anybody you would tell that to that never heard it before would be just they would have your ear for the rest of the time that you're speaking. I didn't know this, Chuck. Well, I guess I did. I don't like to speak like this, but good banks, bad banks.
So, Harry, if you remember back in 07, 08, and 09, as we were living through the financial crisis, on average, we would hear about one bank a week, maybe even multiple banks over the course of the week that failed, where the FDIC would take over. Depositors would be insured for up to $250,000 per account or per Social Security number per institution. But as of this past week, there has not been a bank failure in our country for 217 days. That's 7 months. And that required some sort of a federal bailout from the FDIC.
Is that historically impressive?
That's the longest stretch of bank failures since 2007, or nearly 11 years ago.
Longest stretch of no bank
failures.
No
bank failures, yes.
Yeah.
So so again, I think that's reiterates where we are with respect to our economy. Now, granted, the bank's got to pay the FDIC insurance to be insured. They go through continual audits, like any other business. They have the guys of the federal government sort of, on your back to make certain that all your ratios are in line. But at the end of the day, this is all good news. Obviously, I mean, think about it. It hasn't been a bank failure in 7 months. And
that's.
And just think about how many banks there are. I mean, you got your big multi center banks, then you have your regionals, then you have your sub-regionals, then you have your independents. So think about the scope and what the FDIC has to cover. If you have just like a very, very small local bank.
Wonder if this, it could. It doesn't mean it has to, but we could get through maybe the whole year and not have it. That would be spectacular. You don't recall that ever happening.
No,
it hasn't, because this hasn't.
When we and you look, sort of, under the hood, the work that we do on any given day, we could be looking at on our system up to 10 banks that we can buy for our clients over any specific maturity.
Chuck, I mentioned in my opening monologue this morning, and I don't speak hyperbole, even if sometimes people think I do. I try to say memorable things. I try to say smart things. But I said this morning that this year, and I know that my parents told me when I was very, very young it would be the case. Every year does seem to be going faster as I get older. But I can't believe that 7/12 of 2018 is already done. This is incredible.
This is incredible. Harry, I think what happens is the older we become, the faster time goes by.
Yes.
I can't.
Agreed.
I don't know what it is, but I I'm getting ready this morning. I'm saying, oh my goodness, it's like August. Wouldn't it be nice if we had like 5 days of sunshine here?
I know. We haven't had any of that, and it's still going fast. And we're already, we forget because we're just getting all this Q2 stuff. And it's understandable. It has to lag. It has to be compiled, and and then they update and revise the previous quarter and things. But 1/3 of the third quarter is already done. It is. Think about it. It's the old expression, "Time flies," and it certainly does. You remember when we were kids, we couldn't wait to become adults. My mother told me to slow down. I was the same as you. Some kids, though, don't want to become adults, but I did, and you did. My mother said, "Harry, don't be in a rush. This is the time of your life. Don't be in a rush." I think a lot of the millennials right now don't necessarily want to be adults. Exactly. But the good news is, Harry, we spend a lot of time reading. I think the mindset of that generation is a lot different, where they feel very obligated to take on their own bills, so to speak, like their cell phone bills, their own mortgage. Yes. And they sort of it seems like they're trying to break away, from the parents, from the helicopter parents, that's been in place for many, many years. Funny you should mention it. I'll tell you a story off air. We're going to go now. Chuck Malamut covered in the course of these 50 minutes, a little bit of overtime this morning, which we thank Chuck for. His market update, second quarter GDP, Q2 earnings, the Fed, who's meeting this week, trade tensions, status of additional tax reform, state of the U.S. housing markets, stock market, and the month of August. So we reviewed July, went into the month, which begins tomorrow ahead, market timing versus time spent in the market, my favorite topic that Chuck does, and good banks versus bad banks. A very comprehensive edition of Chuck Malamut Presents. And we thank you, Chuck. Harry, thanks for having me. We'll see you again next week. Well done. Thanks for the nice ride on the weekend, too. You're welcome. 609-383-2010. That's the phone number to reach Chuck for all of your financial planning needs. You'll understand, believe me, when you sit down with Chuck, his perfected concept of total asset management coupled with the all-important asset allocation. 609-383-2010.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, brought to you by Atlanticare, a member of Geisinger.
I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update. Oh no, you lost your keys again, or you have a mountain of papers to go through. Lack of organization can create unneeded stress in our lives. If good organization habits don't come naturally to you, you can do something about it. Just like other skills, we can improve our ability to organize our lives and reduce stress. If your office or home is in need of decluttering, here's a few simple steps. Use filing cabinets, labels, clear storage boxes, and over-the-door organizers. Have a place for everything. Spend 10 minutes each day to pick up and return items to their proper places. Just like we learned in kindergarten, if you take it out, put it back. Keep a box for loose papers and other items to be put away. Go through it at the end of every day. By staying more organized, we can reduce stress and anxiety in our daily lives. I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, brought to you by Atlanticare, a member of Geisinger. Call 1-888-569-1000 or visit Atlanticare.org.
What interest rate would you rather pay on your credit card debt? 17% or less than 6% APR? The answer is obvious, Lightstream. Because with Lightstream, you may be able to consolidate credit card debt and dramatically cut your interest rate to as low as 5.89% APR with AutoPay. Plus, radio listeners get an additional rate discount. Just go to lightstream.com/now. With average interest rates on credit card debt at 17% APR, Lightstream could save you thousands in interest. And because Lightstream is a division of SunTrust Bank, one of the nation's largest and strongest financial institutions, you can have complete peace of mind. The application takes just minutes, and there are no fees and no pressure. Just lower rates, one low fixed monthly payment, and huge savings. So if you have good credit, apply today and get a special interest rate discount when you go to lightstream.com/now. That's lightstream.com/now. Lightstream.com/now.
Subject to credit approval. Rate includes 0.5% autopay discount. Terms and conditions apply, and offers are subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com for more information.
We're going to set the stage for a wide open forum fourth quarter. Looking forward to your phone calls, your comments, your questions. I mean, there's so much on the table right now. We will certainly take full advantage of this open forum that we will close out today with. A quick programming note. Very, very thrilled. Just actually received the book in the mail. I had purchased it on my own. Greg Jarrett's The Russia Hoax. I'm telling you right now, I don't recommend all that many books. This is one of my most, what's the word I'm looking for? Passionate, intense recommendations of all time. This is not an opinion book. Greg Jarrett is a lawyer. He took a dispassionate look. He didn't want to write a book that the Russia is a hoax. The Russia thing is a hoax. He connected the dots and has proven that it's a hoax. It's a media-created hoax. We'll be back.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ 97.3 HD3 Millville. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now.
Ready, aim, print. I'm Dave Anthony. Fox News has growing worry about people getting guns with no background checks, making them at home with a 3D printer. President Trump among those concerned. Fox's John Decker live at the White House.
The president writing on Twitter, I am looking into 3D plastic guns being sold to the public. Already spoke to NRA. Doesn't seem to make much sense. 21 states have filed suit to block